everyone, welcome. I'm Nicole. I'm so excited to be introducing a new program for members this month called Bell Brainiacs, a program for learners of all ages to come together and learn a little bit more about the science and nature we explore at the Bell Museum, and to learn about the universe and our place in it. Each Bell Brainiacs will have a specific topic where we bring in a museum educator or a specialist from the Bell to teach us about that topic and introduce us to a cool activity that you can do at home, independently, or with a group of people. I'm so excited to be kicking off this program with you and encourage you to reach out with any feedback you have. We'd love to hear from you. So this month, fittingly, we're kicking off Bell Brainiacs on the topic of brains. With the new premiere of our planetarium show, Mysteries of Your Brain, we're asking the questions like, what is the brain and why is it so important? And what makes the human brain so special? So today I'm excited to be joined by my colleague and museum educator, Mila, who's going to talk a little bit more about the brain and memory and lead us through a cool activity that you can do at home or follow along with in the video. So without further ado, let's kick off this very first Bell Brainiacs and meet up with Mila. So now we're joined by Mila. Welcome, Mila. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be learning about today?
All right, so before we get started with the activity, I actually want to talk about a mysterious part of your brain, your memory. Now, your memory is so perplexing that scientists still today are studying it, trying to figure out how it happens, where it happens, and how can we make our memories last longer. There is a story that happened about 70 years ago. It happened actually in 1953 with a man called Henry Malagian. They just referred to him as HM for the most part. And he was a young man that suffered from epileptic seizures. And the doctors thought that one way to stop it would be to remove a part of his brain. And so they did it. And what was great is he stopped having seizures, which you would think would be a happy ending, right?
Yeah.
No, actually, it turned out to be a bit of a problem because he could actually no longer retain new memories. So for the rest of his life, he thought he was in 1953 and he was still 27 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he didn't know about any new presidents, he didn't know about any new movie stars or anything like that. But what was cool, though, is that he could actually learn new skills. He just never remembered how or when he learned them. I know, it's really crazy, but that's how your brain and your memory works. Now, I know you're probably wondering what part of the brain they removed, but we're going to wait, and we're going to move on to actually talking about the different parts of your brain. So do you know what the biggest part of your brain is?
Is it, cerebrum?
Yes, it is. It is your cerebrum. Good job. Yeah,
I'm so proud of myself.
Your cerebrum is the biggest part of your brain. And it actually, because it's so big, we've broken it into 4 major lobes. So the first lobe is called your frontal lobe. Any idea where you would find that?
I'm guessing it's back here. Up here.
Well, yes, it's in the front, hence its name. It's actually one of the biggest lobes, and it actually has a lot of jobs. So it does decision making, motor control, and your memory. Fun fact, your frontal lobe is actually one of the last parts of your brain that finished developing. So younger audiences tend to be a little bit more impulsive than their older counterparts because their frontal lobe is still developing. So that's just something cool about the frontal lobe. So that's one. The other one is in the middle of your head, and that's called your parietal lobe. Any guesses on its job?
Something with fine motor skills? You can say no.
So its major job has to do with your senses. So touch, feel, like pain, that kind of thing. So it controls that kind of thing. And it makes sense of it. So you know not to touch something hot, and that's thanks to your parietal lobe. The next one is your temporal lobe, and it's found kind of on the edges of your brain. Any idea, based on its location, what it might be in charge of?
Oh, gosh.
Any idea?
Does it help with hearing?
Yes. Your temporal lobe helps with your hearing. So that's one of its big parts. Finally, it's this lobe in the back is called your occipital lobe. Any guesses?
Nervous system. No.
Well, they all have to do with the
It's been a long
nervous
time
system,
since
so
I've
you're
been in anatomy.
It actually has to do with your eyesight, which I know is weird because you're thinking like eyesight should be near your eyes, but it's in the back. That's just how it is. What's also cool is if you were to fall on the back of your head, not suggesting you try it out, but if you do fall on the back of your head, you actually lose eyesight because there's some, not damage, but something going on in the back. So those are your 4 lobes. And what's great about them is they actually all work together to kind of help you create memories. So your occipital lobe helps you create memories around your eyesight, temporal with your ears and sounds that you hear, your parietal lobe with the touch and feel, and your frontal lobe kind of helps bring it all together and help you make sense of these memories that you have. So they all work together, which is great. But we got to test it out. So that's our next thing, which moves on to our activity, which is a great activity because it's relatively simple to set up and you can use items you find around your house. And even though it's simple and easy to set up, you still find a lot of really cool information when you do it. And you can expand it and make it into something really different by just asking questions and testing a bunch of people. So it's called the Memory Box Challenge. Are you ready for it?
I think so. Mila, I'm going to make your screen bigger so folks at home can see you a little bit better and they don't have to see me so much.
All right. That's
2 seconds. I am going to do this. Okay.
Good.
Good.
All right. So first off, when it comes to getting ready for this, you're going to need to find 2 containers. Any container works. Just pick something that you can't see into. That's very important. So make sure no one can see into the container. The other thing is, for your first box, you're going to want to grab random materials. So I would suggest just walking around your house and finding random things to put in a box. Doesn't matter what it is. You want to do at least 12 items. I did 14 for Nicole to make it a little bit more challenging. So we'll see how that goes. So that's your first memory box. The second memory box, you want to find things that are related to each other. So what that means is that you want to make sure there's a connection between the items. For example, you could do school supplies. You could do food, toys. Really doesn't matter as long as it's connected. Make sense?
Sounds good.
All right. So once you've gotten all your stuff assembled and are ready to go, you just have to choose your test subject. And I have chosen you, Nicole. All right. Real quick, just so everybody at home knows we're not cheating. You don't know what's in these boxes, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. All right. So with our first memory box, I am going to give you 10 seconds to look at the items in the box. And you can use whatever memory technique you have. You just can't write anything down or take any pictures. Okay?
That's good.
All right.
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. 10 seconds. Go. And feel free, you can talk out loud.
Okay. What is the thing under the battery?
So under the battery is a phone, a cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
All right, time.
Okay. Oh, no.
Oh no, I muted myself. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to just ruminate on this.
No, I'm ready to go.
Memory box 1.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I want you to do is tell me everything that you remember, and I will cross it off my list, and we'll see if you're right. And do your best describing it. If you don't actually know what it is, just describe it. I'm sure I can figure out what it is.
Okay. There was a number 8, and there was a toothbrush, and there was a cell phone, and there was a Ritz cracker, and there was
specific.
I know my crackers. And there was a cup, and a battery, and an Andes mint, and a feather.
All right, I'm going to have to call it an end.
Okay, all right, yeah, I think that's all I got.
All right. Well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 14. Okay. So the things that you didn't mention were the bouncy ball, the gum, pen, the fork, Band-Aid, and the hair tie.
Okay.
But that's not bad. That's pretty good for the first round. Hopefully you can do better in the next round. We'll see.
Crossing fingers.
But let me get my new box. But if you notice, I tried to make sure those were as random as possible.
They sure
I just walked around my house. All right, so this one is our second memory box. You have 10 seconds again.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Let me switch my camera and go. If you need me to clarify anything, just let me know. All right, that's time.
Okay.
Try not to give you extra time on that one. Okay. Again, I need you to tell me everything that you remember.
Okay. So this was all like stuff from work. So you had your name badge and your U card and a mouse and a phone, some tape, a stapler, a Sharpie marker, a pen, a pencil, a highlighter, your U of M mask, and oh no, I know there was more. And you had your Audubon animated pin, which is our cool exhibit that we have going on now. There's still time to visit.
All right, I'm gonna have to say stop.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you could maybe name the other one.
No, I think that was the end. I was just buying myself more time.
Okay. So I'll show you what you missed. You missed these tabs.
Yeah.
Granted, there was a lot of them, so I know that might have been confusing. And then you forgot
the hole puncher.
But yeah, you got 12 out of 14. Ooh. So you improved greatly versus the last box. Which moves me on to my next question for you, which is, what did you notice about the first memory box versus the second memory box when it came to retain the memory of what was there?
Knowing that everything in the second box was all kind of in a category definitely helped me, kind of remember, especially when I got to all the different writing utensils. Like I was like, okay, I know there's 4 writing utensils and they all serve a different purpose. And, it was kind of easy to help trigger like what the next one might be. Where with the first one, when it didn't seem like there were any, close ties in terms of category, it was just kind of felt all random and jumbled.
Which is really interesting that actually works, but because that works with most people. And I can explain why this works this way. So first off, we're going to take a look at our brains again. So during this activity, you use two major parts of your brain. You used your occipital lobe, obviously, because you were trying to see what you're looking at. But oddly enough, you were also using your temporal lobe.
Really?
Not to hear, granted, it didn't have to do with hearing, but inside your temporal lobe, there's something called your hippocampus. And it is a part of your brain that helps you learn new information and retain new memories. So if we went back to that story of HM and the doctor who removed part of his brain, can you guess what part of his brain they removed?
I am guessing the hippocampus.
It is. And that's why he couldn't learn any new things or retain new information. He could learn new things because of being able to retain his motor skills, but he couldn't learn how it happened. And he couldn't remember new faces or anything because the part of his brain that's in charge of it is gone. And so your hippocampus is awesome that way, but it has its limitations, just like any part of your brain. Imagine if you add too much information to your phone, it overloads and it won't let you add more info, like more pictures or videos. Your hippocampus is kind of the same way, except there are ways to trick it into learning more. And that's kind of what we did with our memory boxes. Have you ever heard of use it or lose it idea?
I've heard that phrase.
Maybe you have. A lot of times you hear it in the gym or something like use it or lose it. Well, it works with your brain and it especially works with your hippocampus. So with the first memory box, everything wasn't really connected. And I could connect with these materials because they all came from my home, but it might have been a little bit harder for you to connect with these materials. So you weren't able to use anything in your brain to kind of help you connect it. And there was no way for you to kind of categorize, like you said before. So instead of using what you have in your brain, it just was like your hippocampus is like, we'll just pick some random things and whatever you can think of before. But with your second memory box, like you said, you were able to make categories out of it. And you even said when we started, you're like, oh, these are all stuff from the office. Yes, it is. And so your brain was actually, your hippocampus was able to use that information that you already have about the office and help you remember those items. So you used it rather than losing it. So that's one really cool technique. And the reason why it's so important for us to know this technique is that it's one of the ways we learn new things. A lot of times when we try to learn new things, we think if we just repeat it over and over and over again, it's going to like stick with us. For example, if someone like gave you their phone number and you were just like, oh, I don't have a piece of paper. I'm pretty sure you probably just say it in your head like 100 times before you finally plug it into your phone. But if you were actually find a way to help you remember those numbers and connect them, you wouldn't even need to repeat it 100 times. Your brain would be able to bring it in. Your hippocampus would be able to retain that information. So that's one technique. The other one is repetition. And when I say that, I don't mean saying things over and over and over again. I mean, when you try to have something related to something in your life and keep trying to find ways to connect it. So if you're, let's say, learning a new language, you don't want to just try to memorize the words. You want to actually use those words in your everyday life as much as you possibly can, because that's going to help you connect better with the new information. Granted, not all techniques work as good with everyone, so you definitely need to test out different things. But trying to find ways to connect with items and find where they fit will definitely help your brain retain that information. So that is partly how your memory works, or just a little part, by the way, that causes your memory to work.
That is so cool. Mila, thank you so much. I am definitely going to be trying out the memory boxes with my friends and family. I would encourage you all members to try the same, to do it on your own. You can try the memory boxes that we did, and see how you did compared. Or you could have little competitions, I guess, would be a fun way to do it, see who's got the best short-term memory. And I think that's a really cool thing and way to just test out different parts of your brain and think in a new way about memory. So Mila, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for teaching us a little bit more about the brain and memory. And members, thank you so much for joining us today. Like I mentioned, we've got Mysteries of Your Brain premiering this month. It's a great show, and it's brought to you in partnership with support from the Richard M. Schulz Foundation and Boston Scientific. So it's going to be a wonderful show. It's aimed at younger learners, but it's going to be great for the whole family. So if you're able to swing by the Bell, be sure to check that out. Members, you get an extra discount on your tickets, so you can always call or log into your online portal to get those. And I guess we'll just leave it at that today. This has been Bell Brainiacs, and thanks so much. Bye.